Welcome to another edition of Metaphysics of the Gods, where we discuss issues and topics relating to metaphysics, astrology, and astrotheology. Here we delve into the dark recesses of hidden knowledge in an attempt to draw out the truth which has been suppressed and distorted by a sinister hidden hand over centuries of control and manipulation. Metaphysics and astrology are the foundations to understanding universal consciousness, 360 degrees of holistic wisdom, as opposed to 1 degree of compartmentalized academic knowledge. The zodiac is a diagrammatic representation of planetary influences. It gives us a partial insight into the correlations between the macrocosm and the microcosm. It is divided equally into 50% masculine and 50% feminine. If the human race was left to natural forces as a reflection of that cosmic consciousness, we would likely see a balanced 50% women to men ratio. Unfortunately, due to China and India's practice of gender selection and female infanticide, those two hugely populated countries have distorted the planet's natural balance between the sexes, giving a surplus of males by 66 million. The metaphysical and astrological aspect towards the sexes is interesting when one begins to analyze the differences in this way. The zodiac's synchronicity and symmetry is beautifully poetic when one takes the time to look at it from various unconventional perspectives. It suggests that the level of consciousness which initially brought it into being was certainly viewing the world and our place in it from a deep multi-layered level of conscious understanding. The male and the female of the human race can be represented by Adam and Eve, with Adam representing the day or soul, and Eve the evening, the night and the spirit. The Adam soul also represents the focal conscious connection to the higher mind logos, universal collective consciousness, whereas the Eve, the spirit, reflects the subconscious connection. The zodiac cycle always starts with Aries at 6 a.m. when the sun comes up on the horizon. The feminine spiritual realm begins in Libra, where the sun sets and descends into the waters of the underworld. The moon and water have for thousands of years represented the spiritual realm along with the feminine. We have already discovered in palmistry that any line which curves, showing moon-like qualities, reflects the characteristics of the feminine spirit subconscious in a more emotional way. It therefore makes sense for the female body to manifest as an expression of the subconscious more curves and mounts than the male, who is in turn reflecting and in tune with the focal aspect of consciousness. Women are generally more spiritual, emotional and internal than men. Consequently, men's masculine attributes are naturally drawn to physical and practical aspects of life. If we overlay the human body over the zodiac, with the head in Aries down to the feet in Pisces, we find that the chest or breast falls in the sign of Cancer, ruled by the moon. It is therefore more than coincidental to find mounts on the female species in this area of the body, with the top half of the zodiac simplified as masculine and the bottom half feminine. And when we analyze the various houses in terms of masculine and feminine, we find correlations which run in line with traditional values relating to men and women. The areas of life found at the bottom of the zodiac chart around the IC in the 3rd and 4th houses are predominantly dealing with our inner identity, the home and communication. This is the domain of the subconscious, the feminine and the spirit. The top of the chart around the MC, the midheaven, deals with our social identity. This is career, higher learning and travel, traditionally masculine expressions of the focal consciousness and the soul. Some languages, like French and Spanish, assign gender to nouns, which can be confusing at first, but with a basic understanding of metaphysics and ancient universal synchronized wisdom, some light can be shed on this practice. When looking at words relating to the zodiac houses, we find that many of their assigned genders match the zodiac in a logical fashion. Le and la are masculine and feminine in French, whereas el and la are masculine and feminine in Spanish. The traditional role of the female in most societies naturally adapted to those areas of life found in the first 6 feminine houses of the zodiac. Although modern social pressures of equality between the sexes has fragmented the traditional roles of men and women, the vast majority still intrinsically feel that the mother should take the traditional role in the home when caring for the children, with the male, as the breadwinner, should be more career-focused, working full-time to support his family. In a recent study by the Pew Research Center, when looking into how both men and women adjust their careers around family life, they found that women, more than men, make changes to their careers in order to take care of the family and home needs. No matter how much society tries to socially engineer the genders into an equal monogender, the natural rhythms of life and nature itself will always prevail, pulling humanity back to its core roots, cycles and values. As society moves closer towards monogenderization, the traditional role model for the next generation can become diluted. Their socially influenced coordinates and material desires could appear contradictory to nature's equilibrium. Instead of exploring the world from their natural karmic disposition, some individuals may become influenced by socially engineered distortions to the traditional roles. Males can form relationships with each other on many levels. Male bonding is generally formulated and cemented through physical, practical masculine activities. Male sexual stimulation is more in tune with the visual, external focal consciousness. Consequently, at the extreme end of the relationship spectrum, when two men venture into homosexual relationships, their expression of sexual cohesion is generally more physical than their female counterparts. In a recent study from the International Journal of Impotence Research, results confirmed that men show higher arousal from visual stimuli than women. Men showed a preference and higher self-reported arousal from physical type 2 visual stimulation. However, women preferred erotic stimulation with a storyline and erotic mood. Women are by nature more emotional, internal and spiritual. When two females form a sexual relationship, it is more emotional and internal than their male counterparts. The symbol for yin and yang is an ancient one, originating from Chinese philosophy. It represents the duality of opposites, such as light and dark, male and female, reflecting how they work together as interdependent, complementary forces. Dualities working together to create a single force or oneness. This is known as dualistic monism. It is part of the holistic beauty of nature, where only the combined forces of the opposites within the duality, in this case the male and the female, as a dualistic monism, work together in unity, combining two halves to create a whole, with the ability to produce new life. If this ancient wisdom of metaphysics has any credibility, one would expect that modern science would be able to connect natural gender differences to the masculine and feminine aspects of the zodiac. When one takes the time to look at the evidence, this is close to what we find. The male associated with the soul is predominantly concerned with the focal conscious mind, whereas the female, the spirit, aligned with the subconscious, is more in tune with the internal emotional side of the mind. We would therefore expect males to be more centrally focused in the present tense and on things of an earthly practical nature, along with masculine aspects of the zodiac dealing with career, travel and groups. Females, on the other hand, should be more in tune with feelings, internal emotions and other aspects, not preoccupied with the focal consciousness. We would also expect them to be associated closely with the home, communication, creativity and pleasure. Men and women's brains are wired differently. The male is more of a left brain thinker, with more internal connections within brain hemispheres to the front and rear, whereas women with 8% smaller brains have a larger corpus callosum, which allows the flow of information between the left and right side of the brain to take place far easier and faster. The left hemisphere is associated with the focal awareness, the present moment, while the right hemisphere is assigned to the subconscious, its habitual behavior and emotional sensitivity. A study of boys and girls aged 13 years showed that females exceed the males by 6 to 1 in language-related exercises. with the language center being small in males and predominantly in the left side of the brain. This gives rise to male language disorders, which are rare in females, such as dyslexia, stuttering, and speech defects. Females are at a natural advantage here because they draw language and social interaction from both hemispheres. Males, being associated with the focal consciousness, are naturally gifted in the field of spatial awareness. In 3D spatial awareness video tests, males outperform females by a factor of 4 to 1. Male brains naturally have the ability to focus on one thing in greater detail, with many having the ability to see finer print better than women. However, females have the ability to multitask better than males. Their superior connection to their habitual right brain promotes women to do many things without paying too much focal attention. The moon and the subconscious are associated with feelings and emotions. Women generally have more nerve fibers than men. They feel pain with greater intensity, but have developed better internal mechanisms when dealing with that pain. Women have the ability to see colors better than men. It has been said by many people who have had near-death experiences that the spiritual realm is a magnificent array of intense colors. Most people have 3 cone types in their eyes, giving them the full spectrum of colors. In a condition known as tetrachromacy, the person gains an extra cone between the red and green spectrum, giving rise to a greater ability to see colors. Because this is only passed on by the X chromosome, it can only manifest with a matching enhanced pair of X's, making it exclusive to women. Males, on the other hand, who receive their red and green cone genes from the X chromosome, have a greater chance of that single X carrying a defect, which cannot be supported by their other Y chromosome. This is why 8% of males suffer from visual color deficiency to only 0.5% of women. Women have a natural ability to read emotions better than their male counterparts. They also communicate affection far easier than men. When forming friendships, males tend to bond through their focal consciousness, usually through physical activities of a competitive nature. Males generally avoid showing emotions of weakness and vulnerability. They tend to bond in groups, at work, through higher learning, travel and philosophy. Women, on the other hand, form more emotional bonds of a close nature. They tend to communicate more and bond in the home, around children, and through activities of a creative nature. Furthermore, many are drawn to material possessions, wealth, and activities like shopping. When children play, the boys generally spread out, taking up more physical space in the play area, whereas girls, who are more internal, will lean towards more sedentary games. When something of a physical and practical nature needs doing, females are good at communicating what needs doing, while the males generally get on and do it. On the whole, women have better memories than men. The subconscious is the part of the mind that stores everything we ever experience. So for men, their memories don't have easy access to that extra hard drive that women have. In sex, men are predominantly turned on by visual stimuli and what they can focus their attention on. Women, on the other hand, become aroused from more of an emotional aspect to lovemaking. They prefer intimacy over the physical act. The male sex organ is external. He expels his seed into the physical realm, whereas women's sex organs are internal, designed to receive. In writing, men tend to be more structured, whereas women lean towards more of a free verse style. Mensa has 134,000 members, with around 60% male and 40% female. When dealing with stress, women tend to internalize the problem, manifesting headaches, stomach upsets, and even tears. They also turn to social support for refuge. Men, on the other hand, tend to focus their attention away from the cause of their stress, preferring to overcome it by doing physical activities. There seems to be more women psychics than men, partly because women are more intuitive and thought to be closer connected to the spirit realm, and also because women naturally communicate emotions better than men. Due to the nature of the male brain, men are able to focus their attention on one thing for longer periods of time. and in greater depth than the female. This puts the male at an advantage when extremes are required in the physical world, as the right hemisphere of the brain deals with habitual nature, random sequencing, and creativity. Women are far more adaptable when it comes to multitasking, putting them at an advantage when looking after children and the home simultaneously. There has been a long-running debate about which gender is better suited when generating a genius. Although the majority of significant geniuses throughout history are male, the female side of the argument does carry some weight. They put it down to the lack of opportunities given to women in the past due to social pressures and expectations towards taking care of the home and family. When one looks at how the focal conscious mind leans more towards the male, it is not hard to appreciate that many extreme aspects within this physical reality manifest from the focal conscious mind easier through the male. It is therefore no surprise to find males excelling in areas synonymous with the left brain and in the practical physical world of the soul and the focal consciousness. The zodiac can represent many different time periods, from the common clock face of 12 hourly divisions to the great year of 25,800 years. Each cycle starts in Aries and ends in Pisces, giving us an idea as to what energetic influences are in play at any given time period. If we look at the zodiac chart as a 24-hour daily cycle from the perspective of common human activities, starting the day at 6 a.m. in Aries, we see some interesting correlations. 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Aries, ruled by Mars, the start of a new day. As the sun appears on the horizon, most people awaken and come back into the focal consciousness. They lift their heads off the pillow and once again become aware of themselves from the head down. Many people leave the house and head for work during this time, frantically fighting their way through the morning traffic like competing rams or sheep. 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Taurus, ruled by Venus. Most people settle into their daily routine at this time. Like the bull of Taurus, they place themselves in their chosen field. They will use their voices to greet one another, converse, and arrange their daily agenda. 10 a.m. to 12 noon. Gemini, the twins, ruled by Mercury, the planet of communication. 11 a.m. is the most common time in the United States for meetings to take place. Many people with practical skills will put their arms and hands to work in an overall productive 2 hours before lunch. 12 noon to 2 p.m. Cancer, ruled by the moon. The moon is internal sensitivity, seeking emotional fulfillment. Cancer rules various areas of the body, including the chest, the breasts, the stomach, and the alimentary canal. Here we see most people taking their lunch break, satisfying their inner feelings of hunger. They also take time out to internalize. 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Leo the lion, ruled by the sun. In many countries, with the sun at its hottest, people take a siesta. Many traditional cultures would go home at this time and sleep for a few hours. There is an old saying, to sleep like a lion. This is because lions can sleep up to 20 hours a day if necessary. Various studies have been carried out which suggest the best time to take an afternoon nap is between 2 and 3 p.m. 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Virgo, ruled by Mercury. This is the house of health and service to others. Studies have shown that this is the best time for exercise, due to the overall body temperature increasing throughout the day. Along with heart rate and blood pressure falling, this makes late afternoon the best time for physical exercise. 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Libra, ruled by Venus, the house of partnerships and marriage. During this time, the sun fades, disappearing over the horizon. Most people's working day is over. They make their way home to be with their partners or loved ones. 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Scorpio, ruled by Mars. Many people will naturally lean towards having sex during this time. Mars is the planet of physical proactivity, and Scorpio, I desire, is also the house of sex and transformation. 10 p.m. to 12 a.m. Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter. Many people naturally gravitate to their beds during this time. A person who falls asleep at 10 p.m. will experience deep sleep over the next 2 hours, with cycles of deep and light sleep as the night draws on. The focal conscious mind hands the baton to the subconscious within the spirit realm. The glyph for Jupiter is the crescent over the cross, the spirit over the physical. Here our consciousness ventures into the spiritual realm of deep sleep. 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. Capricorn, ruled by Saturn. During this part of the sleep cycle, the depth of sleep is lighter, pulling the consciousness closer towards the focal realm. The glyph for Saturn is the cross over the crescent, the physical over the spirit. 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. Aquarius, ruled by Saturn. Here we see a continuation of the Saturnian phase of the sleep cycle. It is interesting to note that the glyph for Aquarius is the double wave, which could also depict the wave characteristics of the overall sleep cycle. We also move through what is known as the witching hour, a period during the night where the veil between our two worlds is at its thinnest. The devil's hour at 3 a.m. is an inversion of the time Christ supposedly died at Calvary. 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. Pisces, ruled by Jupiter. Here we sometimes see another deep sleep cycle before we awake, to begin the whole daily routine over again. Just like the daily zodiac cycle, the 12 signs can represent 1 year, and also an average 72-year lifetime. In the case of the life cycle, each sign or house will be equal to 6 earthly years, starting once again in Aries and ending in Pisces. Birth to the age of 6. Aries, I am. Mars, physical proactivity. The self. During these years, it is all about baby, which is all head, the size of which is out of proportion to the rest of its body. Baby has lots of proactive cardinal energy. He likes to explore his new world as he begins the journey through the first 6 signs of the zodiac. 6 to 12. Taurus, I have. Venus, love and liking. During these years, the child learns about territorial boundaries and material possessions. He knows what toys are his and makes it clear to others. The child will develop their speech in order to express their future life's requirements. 12 to 18. Gemini, I think. Mercury, communication. This is the house of communication and thinking, considered to be the most important years for learning and developing life skills in order to communicate successfully. Gemini represents the twins, which could be used symbolically to reflect puberty when the child changes into an adult. MC, the midheaven, represents an individual's social identity and a time when they generally decide the career which they wish to pursue. 18 to 24. Cancer, I feel. Moon, internal emotion. These were traditionally the years when one would enter into a serious, loving, emotional relationship, possibly leading to marriage. Cancer is also the fourth house of home, a time when many people would move away from their parents to set up home for themselves. 24 to 30. Leo, I will. Ruled by the sun, the self. This is the optimum period when people shine their individual uniqueness and focused willpower out onto the world stage. They are in their prime with good vitality. It is a good time for setting the foundations for a new career, business or way of life. 30 to 36. Virgo, I examine. Mercury. These are the years of examination, service to others and personal health. DC. This is our relationship identity. Most people, by this stage in their lives, are established in some form of relationship, a partnership or union from which their identity is significantly shaped by. 36 to 42. Libra, I complement. Venus. These are the balancing scales in which we go from the top half, the masculine side of the chart, to the bottom, feminine side. They say life begins at 40. It certainly does for many people. Their ego becomes diluted in favor of a more balanced view of life. This is essentially because they are beginning to experience their world from a spiritual perspective too. At this point, most people have developed enough social skills to function comfortably, complementing their environment. Consequently, many people have a greater appreciation of what makes them tick. They don't necessarily know for sure what they want from life, but they have a better idea of what they don't want. 42 to 48. Scorpio, I desire. Mars, the house of sex and transformation, sometimes called the frustrating 40s. Many males harbour the desire to pursue an affair. Some go along with it, releasing themselves from their mundane, stale relationships. It is the average age for men to divorce. Men get to a certain age where they see themselves getting old and feel the need for a final fandango before they resign themselves to the loss of youth and their inevitable mortality. 48 to 54. Sagittarius, I seek. Jupiter, planet of expansion. This is the house of travel, higher learning and philosophy. After most people have come to terms with the loss of their youth and their sexual appetite, many evolve towards the next natural progression of the 9th house. At this time, many people seek deep, meaningful philosophical answers to life's bigger questions. along with an interest in long-distance travel. 54 to 60, Capricorn, I use, ruled by Saturn. This rules time, also known as Chronos. It is a period in which time becomes an issue. Most people start to appreciate their own mortality, realizing that their time in the physical body is now limited. Capricorn also rules the 9th house of career. For most men, these are the years of peak responsibility, along with peak earnings. 60 to 66, Aquarius, I know, Saturn and Uranus. This is a period in which life's accumulated experiences give a mature sense of knowing. If one has followed their karmic path over social pressures and temptations, the rewards should manifest a harmonious, balanced temperament, leading to feelings of peace and fulfillment. The second half of this sign is ruled by Uranus, the planet synonymous with freedom. This coincides with most people's retirement age. 66 to 72, Pisces, I believe, ruled by Jupiter. These are the final years of most people's lives, where they reflect and put it all in perspective. Here they have time to question their own beliefs and traditional values. Many turn to some form of spiritual or philosophical belief as a comforting stepping stone towards their transition into the next realm.